Hello, it's Nancy Jutton, your Get Known to Get Paid mentor and the leader of the Raise Your Voice, Make Your Impact Facebook group. And I'm super excited about today's Learn More, Earn More conversation, because what are we talking about today? We're talking about aligned partnerships for your star on the rise. And boy, oh boy, when you learn the power that this visibility and relationship strategy can have for your growing business, you're going to run and not walk in the direction of our very special guest today, because he's got so much value to add and he's got so much wisdom to share. And he's one of my dearest friends on the planet. And I want to tell you that Mark Porteous is in the house. Welcome.
Yay. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be in the house with Nancy.
I remember that day that I met. I think we were at a JVIC event and you were over there and I was over here, and you had a line around the block waiting to talk to you, and I had a line around the block waiting to talk to me. And I thought, but that's the guy I want to talk to.
That is so fun. And it took some time for us to get together, but we always knew we would.
Yeah. And it was just like, sometimes you know a good melon, like this is the guy that I'm supposed to meet. So let me tell you, if you are in the uninitiated and you do not yet know who Mark Porteous is, I want to tell you who he is. Mark is known as the Soul Connector. He's the father of 10-year-old twins and a husband of 18 years to his beautiful wife. He's a joint venture strategist and affiliate concierge and the co-founder of the Soul Affiliate Alliance. Transformational leaders and inspired influencers hire Mark Porteous to reach more people with their message by developing soulful collaborations and alliances so they can leverage their expertise to make greater impact in the world while enjoying more freedom and ease in their own lives. Welcome to the program.
Well, it's so funny because I remember updating my bio twice with your help, with with your guide, your No More Boring Bio guide. And as you were reading that, I was reminded the importance of updating it regularly, because my 10-year-old twins turned 11 just 2 weeks ago. And in just a couple of weeks, it'll be 19 years of marriage with Renee. And that's very important because of one of the values that I have about integrating my family life with my business life. And my wife is also my business partner and manager, and our kids are part of everything we do.
Well, and it's just been such a pleasure to see your family grow and for everybody to be healthy and happy and doing their thing, because we've all had little bumps in the road and you can talk about that if you would like, if it feels right. But if you're joining us live, go ahead and send Mark a message. Hey, Mark, excited to meet you. I see we've got a couple of live eyeballs there, and hopefully more will join us, because, oh my gosh, we've got so much in store. So I want to just jump right into this content, because there are a lot of solos out there, people that are building their businesses alone. They're just doing it on their own. They're not joining forces. They're not linking arms. And they're wondering, why the heck is things going so slowly? Why does it have to be so hard? So there are those who build their business alone. And then there's this other way to boldly and rapidly grow in collaboration with others. So my question to you is, when did you first realize the power of this big idea, and what results turned your head to make you want to focus so specifically in this arena?
That's such a beautiful question. Again, you are a wordsmith master, but the idea about, again, it all coming back to the results. What are the results that I've been getting in it? It's been a part of my life, really, my whole life. I've been an entrepreneur since I was about 11. I started with cleaning docks, and when I was 21, I was working for Greenpeace and read the quote that we're not human beings having spiritual experiences, we're spiritual beings having human experiences. And that's when I first started my entrepreneurial business. I wanted to be an author, and my father said, well, don't expect to make money writing a book. You have to have a business. So I started off with building my business so that I could write a book and not have to make money in it. Didn't realize that your book and your message could all be related. But in that whole process of building my own business, it was about building relationships. And after 5 years of growing my souvenir business, where I was selling unique souvenirs at amusement parks around the country, I had over 100 employees, including one of them, who is now my wife, was 20 at the time, and one of the most responsible people on the team. But it was really about building relationships that got me into parks, that got me employees. It was just, that was a part of my business. But then when after 5 years of having that business and not making any progress on writing my book, decided to sell that business and go into sales, working for another company, a big corporation, and thought, okay, within 2 years, I'll have enough business, or and have enough time to write my book, and then I can create my business and do whatever it is that I wanted to do. And after 10 years, I had built a network of relationships where all of my business came to me. I got really lazy. It got really easy to make money because of the relationships that I had built, but it wasn't satisfying. It wasn't rewarding. I wasn't in alignment with my purpose like I am now. But that same process that I used about building relationships transferred into this new industry for me around helping other people.
So tell me more about that. I mean, earlier today I did a video where I talked about how I've always been helping other people and making referrals just because it was the right thing to do. And one day I made a referral to someone, and it resulted in $800 coming into my mailbox every single month for 18 to 24 months. And I didn't even know there was such a thing as that. Did you have and that single moment in my life caused me to think, if I could welcome pennies from heaven doing it randomly, what could I do if I got more specific and deliberate? So my question to you is, was there a single incident in your path where you thought, I wonder if there's ways to profit from relationships? Did that cross your mind, or how did this all?
Well, all of that, yeah, there was a lot of profit in it, but what you're talking about is very, very specific. Like when you're talking about getting an affiliate commission, a referral commission, that is something very, very specific around the relationships. And that type of relationship I learned through my first coach, which is where I met you at the Joint Venture Insider Circle. Before Rich German and Milana Lishinsky created that group for building joint ventures, he was my coach in Epic Coaching Academy when I first decided I wanted to see what coaching was all about. But it was going through that training and realizing that it was partnerships. He was the one who said live events and partnerships, joint venture partnerships, built my business. And so I've been following that, realizing that that's the same thing that had built my previous businesses. Said, well, how do I do that in a very specific way? And there are lots of different ways for speakers and authors and coaches, experts of any kind, to create very specific relationships that are not just our typical, something that we're very familiar with, a cross promotion, where I will promote you and your event, your big thing that you're doing, and then at some point in the future, you can promote me in some way. And that's mostly what we see, and that's a really great way to do it. There's lots of other mechanics of being able to support people with a specific. So it could be that you have an event and then you have a joint venture partner come on stage and share great content, or you have this beautiful community, as you do, and you invite people like me to come and speak, and we get to share and cross-pollinate that way. So there's lots of different mechanics to it, but the idea is the same thing that you said in the beginning. Really, it's how do we show up in service to the people that we're here to serve, who are the people that are aligned with our message, and how does that message, again, add value to my community, and how do I add value to their community? And that's really what it is seeing how do we best fit. Because you can fit into a lot of different places. Same thing with me. You help speakers to see what stages they can get on, and what platforms, and having little things like free gifts that you offer. I see this scrolling banner here on our video, and so there's lots of little mechanics to it. But really, I think it's being aligned with your message, being really, really clear with who you are and who you're here to serve.
This whole idea of alignment is something that I have thought about a lot, because I came to this whole spiritual side of business by way of a very conventional path. I'm a very conventional, hardworking, shoulder the wheel kind of gal. I'm my friend Susan O'Malley would say, I'm not a really big manifester. I turn the M of manifest upside down into a W, and I work. That's what I do. And so the reason I'm talking about this whole alignment thing is that when I first started hearing people talking about aligned partnerships or being in alignment with your greater purpose, in the beginning, it felt kind of woo-woo and spiritual to me, which meant that I was probably going to reject it because it felt kind of soft. But as I've gotten in the trenches more, I realized that it isn't really, it's a whole lot more than that. Is there a natural fit where it feels like peas and carrots or peanut butter and jelly, where it just feels natural and good and energizing? And when you find people that for whom you feel that kind of fit, that's, I think, what alignment means to me. Is that how you associate it also?
Absolutely, and I love having your perspective on it, because I would consider myself a little left of woo woo, and becoming more and more comfortable with that, and seeing that that this is not a woo woo thing. This is, and most of my woo woo-ness does come from science, and the science of sales, the science of relationships. There's so much about that there's real measurable results that come from discernment of saying, I know who I'm here to partner with. I know who I'm not here to partner with. I know who my audience is. And I'm not here to speak to everybody. I'm here to speak to my audience. And not everyone in your audience is perfect for receiving my message. And that's okay. But I'm here to speak to those who are.
So, funny story. I was on vacation last week, and sometimes you see and do and be things differently when you're on vacation than when you're regularly at home. And we were watching something on Netflix late at night, and there was like this party hardy situation where people were dancing on the ceiling and wearing lampshades on their heads and behaving in such a manner. And I say to my husband, you see these people we're seeing on TV here? I said, this is my worst nightmare. This is the last place I want to be. And so when we're talking about alignment, it's like seeing you across the event venue and going, that guy's got good energy. I think I want to meet him. I think I want to see what he's up to. I want to see if there might be some way we can support each other and see what magic can bloom as a result. And so I think one takeaway I just want to call out for those who are listening, and Rita Robinson is here today, and she's such a loyal viewer, and I know someone else is here today too. And if you want to go ahead and comment, please do. But you got to find people that you resonate with. And so since you discovered this whole thing about aligned partnerships and creating relationships with people of like mind, what is the flag you're waving today? And what is this group that you lead? And what is that all about? And how's it going?
I love it. So the Soul Affiliate Alliance is about creating a new way of being in business that works for everyone. And it's really that simple. It's about being very conscious of why we are here in the alignment, and so that when we make, you said strategic alliances, I love that word so much, that it really is well thought out about, how is this serving, that everything that we're doing should be strategic. We should have thought behind all that we're doing so we can get the benefit out of it. And that leads to me that the bigger woo part of when we do all of that, then we can just show up and surrender into what I call the magic of sacred synchronicity, of the right people showing up at the right time. And again, that can sound like woo, but if you're familiar with Carl Jung, he's the one who coined the phrase synchronicity. And he talked about being strategic about creating synchronicity in our lives. And I feel like my greatest partners, my greatest clients have come through this line of introductions of people. So I love watching the genealogy of where my clients have come from. And usually they've come through some other JV partner. My greatest clients, the people that I'm the closest with, because they were aligned with somebody who I'm aligned with. So it's that whole like creates like. And some people call it law of attraction. And you can look at all just the science behind it and say it's about showing up fully as you and being very discerning, because right now, there's so much going on in our lives. There's so many distractions. We have to be extra discerning about where we invest our time, who we hire, who we partner with. All of these things are more important than ever. And so we want to make sure we're having fun doing it. Every time I talk to you, I enjoy it, and I get benefit from it no matter what. And I know that anytime I introduce you to people in my life, I know that they're going to get value out of it as well. And so that's the kind of discernment that makes just showing up get the results every single time.
Well, my husband has a funny phrase that is very easy to remember, and it goes like this: no icky people under the tent. No icky people under the tent. If it doesn't feel like a fit, you must not commit, whether it is a client, a joint venture partnership. Sometimes the people with the really big names have green room attitude and aren't willing to play at a common level. And then you meet people where it feels like it's a fit and you commit and you're all in, and hallelujah. So how many people have joined the Soul Affiliate Alliance so far, and how many people are you anticipating to serve as you grow and your vision gets bigger?
Well, I've got all different ways to play in the alliance. We've got hundreds of partners. I have a meta mind with 25 different soulful leaders who each lead their own community, including like Nancy Matthews with Women's Prosperity Network, and Aman Khan with Red Elephant, and David Ricklin with selfgrowth.com. So these are all people who are already leading communities of people that are out to make a big impact in the world. And now they're able to leverage their expertise to not only make a bigger impact, to reach more people with their message, but to really do it in a way where it's not more work. One of the things is there's always more to do, but if you can have that impact without having to take up an extra skill, to learn an extra marketing tool, to be able to leverage your time and your energy in a way where, like us, just being able to play and have fun doing what I love doing, you can turn that into being of service to somebody that can turn into being a client or a partner.
Well, in my experience, going it alone is fine, but the beauty of aligning with people that already have embedded audiences of fans and followers is the idea that if you like, I'm endorsing you. You're someone I know, someone I like, someone I trust, someone I respect. And if you're on my show, there's like a halo of credibility around you because the halo of my own integrity shines very bright. So those who are thinking, gosh, if I could just get a leg up and do business with people who are already in the game in a bigger way, what then could happen? And so that was kind of a revelation to me when I started partnering with people, because when I first started, it was, how could I support you? How could I give first before asking for anything for myself? And then naturally allowing things to unfold and expand as results started to show up. Do you, with these aligned partnerships, do you also agree that that's a good philosophy? And is there more you can add to the right things to do when thinking about creating alliances or partnerships with others?
Yeah, it's funny that because you asked me to think about some of the things that I've used to help partner with some of the bigger names. And you talked a little bit about that. I don't remember the term used, green room mentality, or
Yeah.
the guru philosophy. And I feel the same way. A lot of the people that you look at that are in your niche, that are doing the big things that you're doing, that you might look up to them and yet find that they may also be out of integrity in a lot of ways. So I think it's really important to know who the leaders are in your niche and to really get to know them so that you find out, are these the people that I would love to promote, and will they add value? And so being able to see when they're up to either doing events or launches and following the launches, and then promoting them. That was one of the things that I was talking about, was that if there is somebody that you really look up to, and I've seen you do this, you're getting ready for a launch right now that we're close to putting our friend Christine Closer, and the idea of supporting somebody not to get something from them, but because you see the value of what they offer and you want to promote them. So when I'm looking at these big partners and people say, well, you don't have a big list, and a lot of people have this idea around that leverage tool of this list size. And I have found that when you really resonate, when you are in alignment, people will do things because of the alignment, not because of that transactional partnership of saying, you sent so many people to me, I'm going to send so many people back. It's not that transactional partnership. Now it's a real relational relational partnership. And that's really the tool, the key.
So since you brought up Christine Closer, she's doing her Author Quest launch right now, and I've been involved with her various launches for quite a few years. And my own story around that was when I was first getting started, no one knew my name. But you can imagine that better bios and books kind of go together like peas and carrots and bees and honey. And what ended up happening is someone from her community reached out and said, I hear you have products and services that would be relevant to authors. Would you be willing to offer some as prizes in our big, huge transformational author giveaway? Would you be willing to do that? And I call this the plus one. I said, yes, I'd be willing to do that because I knew who she was. I wanted to meet her and I was looking for an entry point. But my plus one was, what else can I do to support you at this important time in your business? Which opened up a conversation around, would you be willing to advocate for this event to your tribe? And of course I said, yes, I'm all in. And even though I didn't have a very big list at the time, it was a mighty responsive list. And when I advocated for her, it made a huge impression and resulted in me being invited to speak on her summit 3 or 4 years in a row and making tens of thousands of dollars each time, that I was only too happy to share the wealth with her. Because when a big name reaches out to you and says, can you lend support to something big that I have brewing? I just saw that as like a bright light of opportunities, like knocking. And I wanted to walk through that door readily and like a rock star, and it ended up paying off really well for me. Do you have stories from your own experience where something similar happened for you or initiatives that you were advancing?
Oh, absolutely. In my beginning, I was still in the corporate world and really wanting to see who the top personal development people were. So I started with a personal transformation summit in 2013, and it started with I had invited 25 people that I knew well that were coaches, authors, speakers that were supporting other people in the same industry, and invited them to a simple gift giveaway. We all just put something together really quick where we're offering a free item, and out of that, 7 of the people didn't really respond, didn't hold up to their agreement, and the other 18 of them ended up in this telesummit where all of us added, hundreds of new people. I had started with, literally zero list at this time. I was in another industry, so that was how I think I added my first 750 people. Was through this list of other people who were at the same starting point that I was. These weren't well-known coaches out there. They're all other people with very small lists. But from doing that, the next event that I had, I was ready for it, and through alignment, was able to reach out to people like Natalie Ledwell with Mind Movies. They have over 1 million subscribers. With several people like Bob Doyle from The Secret, Marsha Weeder with Dream University. I think these were really, really big names. And it was because they were aligned with my vision, my values, and my mission that they said yes, not saying, okay, well, what are you going to do for me in return?
Oh, I love that. So you did say something, you kind of snuck it in, and I want to bring it out. You said of the some number of people, 18 went all out and did the right thing. And there were some people, and you said, not holding up their agreements.
Yeah.
So that's one of those big mistakes that people make. And so my question to you is, so as you reflect back on those number of people that did not hold up their end of the bargain, how does that, if at all, influence to what extent you want to play with them in the future?
It's just so funny because I know you did not read my notes. You sent me some things to think about, but one of those is like, what are the big mistakes that you make? And that is absolutely one of them. I mean, one of the biggest ones is rushing in too fast. But the other one is just being out of integrity. And that usually comes from not having clear agreements. And that is, I think, the solution that we can have is when you're going into any type of partnership, whatever it is, having a very clear expectations of what the other person's responsibilities are and what you're committing to, being very clear on what your commitments are, and then holding up on your commitments. And then when people don't, the whole T. Harv Eker saying that the way people do anything is the way they do everything. And I have seen this again and again with my coaching clients and my partners, that, the people who don't show up to follow through on their simple commitments, like a giveaway, just sending these things out, or even responding back and saying, oh, yes, I got your information, I will send it out. A simple thing like just communicating. It's one of the things why people love to work with you, is because you're so responsive. So yes, when somebody shows up and they're not responsive, I don't begrudge them. I don't get angry. I just don't play.
You just make a note.
Yes.
You make a note. That was interesting. I'm so glad I observed that, because when I going forward, that's a name that's not going to make it to the list, because I think we should all be the kind of partner we most want to play with. We should also be the kind of client we most want to attract. We should all be the kind of interview guest that every host would be thrilled to talk to. Because as you say, as how you do anything is how you do everything. So one of the big mistakes is like, if you say you're going to go somewhere, or you say you're going to go all in, and that you're going to mail 3 times and post to social media twice, do what you say. And then my philosophy is go one more, go one extra mile so you can stand out and really make an impact, because anyone who's been in a launch ever knows that it's like spinning multiple plates all at the same time. And anyone that goes the extra mile for you when you are in that mode is someone you will remember fondly, and there will be something good coming for you. You don't even know how good it is, but it's so much better to go the extra mile than to draft on somebody else's good effort, right?
I will always call that the +1 that I learned from Nancy Jutton, going a little bit further than what you offered to do. And then we always say under promise and over deliver, but the +1, I just love that. Just one little notch further.
Well, and, James Clear wrote this book, Atomic Habits, and he says that, everything, we can accomplish magnificent things if we just get 1% better every day. So just go one more. So, all right.
And don't commit to anything if you can't. That's the thing. I think that's one of the problems that people have, is that they overcommit. Don't overdo that to yourself, and just don't do it.
Yeah, I think that that is, I'll confess, back in the day when I was doing lots of joint ventures, just managing my calendar got to be very, very challenging, because what commitments did I make to promote others? And did I leave enough room in my calendar to advocate for programs of my own? And I think that when the scale tips a little too far in the wrong direction, you have to sort of take stock and say, how am I going to do this? Because we all have our own products, programs, and services. And then there's the products, programs, and services of others that can bridge gaps that can make our own programs better. So now my philosophy is to be really selective and strategic, so that everything that I'm up to gets center stage, and that I also do a really good job with those few folks that I choose to advocate for. Because if you do too many things, the downside of that is you could confuse your audience, and they don't know what you stand for or what you sell. And that is a potential consequence of not being deliberate and strategic. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I think that that's also one of the reasons why people are often hesitant, and I like to do it alone, because they've had bad experiences in partnerships before. They've had all types of partnerships have had bad experiences. And even whether it's a JV experience, and when you have that, sometimes you say, oh, I'm not going to do that ever again. I'll never have another, and you're not going to say, oh, I'll never have another relationship because I had a bad one. You just have to be more discerning and selective. I think that it's really important that you just said that.
Well, yes. And something you were saying about list size, and that you don't necessarily have to have the biggest list to play with the coolest people. And your philosophy seems to be, let's create aligned partnerships where there's a win-win and a share, and feels good, and it's energized, and it's rewarding in every possible way. So I'll never forget the time that I went to some fancy pants mastermind where all the big name people were there, and somehow I wrangled an invitation, and I'm hanging out at the bar at this really fancy pants place. And I see all these big names that I never thought I would see. It felt a little bit like Hollywood. I went, oh my gosh, there's Brad Pitt and there's Angelina Jolie. Well, there was this guy over there who I knew who he was, because that's just the kind of gal I am. I do my homework before I go to these events. And I thought, boy, what an opportunity to meet that guy. I don't know if you've ever felt that way, like, oh my God, there's that person. Oh my God. So he walks over to me, I'm sipping a cocktail, and he says, hi, my name is. And I said, so nice to meet you. And then his first question to me was, so how big is your list? Just like that. And you know how I am. I'm just a classy gal. I say the right thing. But I said to him, I said, my goodness. I said, that's quite an opening line. I said, how about a little foreplay before the main event? I wish you could have seen this guy's face. It was like he totally didn't expect that from me. And realized that perhaps he was being a little obtuse, if you will. So that I think is.
I think it's very common. I
But
think that it's such a great story to encapsulate. I think an ongoing, story that's happening in our industry.
Well, I was just thinking to myself, if this is the way this happens, then I'm sitting at the wrong cocktail bar. And so that's a perfect segue for you, which is there's affiliate marketing and then there's the way you do it. So let's talk about that and why it matters. I mean, do you have people in your community leading with how big is your list and how quickly can you promote me? And I mean, let's talk about that.
Sure. Well, there's a certain part of the industry that is transactional, and if you're advertising, that's great. You want to know how much air there is. If you're paying for ads, that's great. And if you're building a relationship, which is really what it's all about, and we talk about relationship capital, that is when you are showing up for what is in the highest good, not for what you will get out of it. And when you are doing that, it just makes everything more enjoyable. It makes the process more enjoyable. You don't have to keep trying to convince this person that you're going to get a fair trade. It's just, we just show up and we trust in the process. So that alone just makes the way that you're doing it more fun and more enjoyable. But it also creates relationships, like you said, where it's not about tracking. We have systems in place that can track to see what's working and how to improve marketing and different pieces of it. But we don't have to worry about that. We just show up for each other. And so in that process, whenever I hear that somebody is looking for a service and I know somebody that can provide that, I just automatically make the connection. That's what I enjoy doing. And I see that within my community of people learning now that they don't have to put a turnstile on everything. They don't have to measure what the results are going to be. When you are creating relationships, the reciprocity that comes from you doing things for the right reason, it just makes it all worth it. And the results are definitely there. More important, the journey to get to the results is much more enjoyable.
I love that. And I so believe in that. You know, lately I've been thinking about things that light me up and things that shut me down. And I want to be 80% or greater in the light me up bucket, because then I know that I'm hanging out with the cool people that feel like a good fit for how I like to play. And I don't have any ick factor that is stealing my energy. And I think that if there's anything that we've learned in this last year or so with the COVID-19 pandemic is that there's enough negative stuff going on in the world that to the extent that we can influence who we hang out with and how we serve and putting ourselves and our efforts to the highest and best use, I mean, that's one of the ways that we can make a difference in the world by just being lights on. So, we talked about some of the costly and embarrassing mistakes, like leading with how big is your list and not fulfilling your commitments. Are there some other mistakes that people make when they're, especially if they're new to the whole joint venture partnership thing, that we should be aware of and avoid?
Sure. Well, I just want to reiterate the first two that come to mind right away are moving too fast. Again,
tell us more about that. What does that mean?
Well, you shared a great story about, so you meet somebody and then you don't even know if you have the same audience yet, and they're already saying, well,
let's go to bed.
I got a room upstairs. And it just feels so icky. You don't want those people under your tent. Right. So the idea for you just said the way that you want to be the perfect client so that you attract perfect clients. You want to be the perfect partner so that you attract perfect partners. And so the idea of getting to know somebody is really, really important. And in any conversation, within a few seconds, I can tell if I resonate, if I feel aligned, and we can set up a real quick meeting, and then to set up another one to say, okay, let's see how we can figure out the logistics of it and the mechanics of it. But really spending time to get to know somebody before you ever look at what can you do for me. That's the biggest one. It's just the going too fast. I think of women knowing how that feels I'm sure men must as well, but as far as business, I think it's just we don't realize it sometimes that we're being pushy, and so I think just being more conscious that you're creating relationships and not try to look at it as you're trying to enroll somebody or sell somebody. The same way that we're trying to change the way that we do sales. And you talk about that 80-20 thing. That's another piece of the change for me is the way that we're changing business. There's so much fear-based marketing of, here's all of the pain points and really digging into those. And we understand that there's some science saying that, well, that's how people respond more to the pain. And I think that is shifting. I really do believe that the people I'm working with are not so much worried about avoiding pain. We've done a lot of the work to set up good situations, and now we want to optimize our life. We want to see what can be better in my life. And so when we're looking at marketing, I look at people who are focused on positive outcomes. Of most of their marketing, their messaging is about what it can be on the other side. You can point out, here's the problems that I solve, but you're not wallowing in the mud, and you're not really bringing people down there, making them soak in it. You're really focused on that positive outcome. And the same thing with my partnerships. I look at, well, what can we create together, not the mechanics of this is the fastest way to grow my list. This is, it's not the outcomes that I'm doing the relationship building for. It's really being in the relationship and enjoying that process of it. It just makes life so much more rich to be able to have a beautiful conversation with you and with other people that adds value versus thinking, who can I, what stages can I get on just to benefit me, to sell something? Where can I get the best offer, or how do I get the cheapest earnings per click and all of that stuff? It's great to have those mechanics, but that's not the way to make our decisions. I really feel like that inner voice is such a powerful tool for doing good work and doing good in it.
Very good. Now, since we mentioned Christine Closer a little bit, and I think she's an excellent joint venture partner for a variety of reasons. Number one is that she's got a brilliant program that she's bringing to market that has served tens of thousands of people over the decades, so you can trust it. Number two is she really makes it easy for her partners to advocate and promote for her, because she prepares beautifully crafted copy and messaging that we can all cut, paste, and share and customize as we see fit. And she also includes very specific calls to action that are coded to each partner so that there can be the measurement of impact that is made partner to partner. Those are some really great ways to make it easy for other partners to say yes to you, is to have all those assets created. In your community, the Soul Affiliate Alliance, do you talk about the importance of being ideally prepared to make it easy for your partners to champion you? And can you elaborate a little bit about that?
I can. And again, it almost sounds like setup, but you don't realize that the link that you have scrolling across the bottom here goes to a free ebook that actually goes through the three main things that you really need to have to be Soul Affiliate ready. And you talked about some of these here with Christine. One is a great offer, which means that one, it provides the transformation that it promises. To me, that's the most important thing. I want to know that anybody I'm partnering with can deliver on their promise more than anything else. Then you want to know that you can actually sell people that product, that you have a process that will guide them through to making a wise purchasing decision for themselves, and that they will then complete the program so they can get those results. So that's the first piece of it. We go through a lot of that, again, in the ebooks, more of the specifics. And then the second piece you talked about with Christine is a very clear system for being able to track it and to be able to follow and to be able to lead my clients through their process. Her event is a fantastic event. I was there live myself last year, live virtually. It was her first time moving from the live experience to the virtual experience. So now she has that under her belt for this year. I
So
don't even
being
remember what
ready
it is.
ready is super important. You have to have an
And having
offer.
the systems and all that, yes. Yeah, so
And
you want to know what all those mechanics are. And then the third piece is really reciprocity, having some type of platform of your own where you can then reciprocate for your top partners. And there's lots of ways that Christine does that you do that. And part of it is being able to say, okay, great, I'd love to show you on my platform. There's lots of other ways, whether that's a commission structure or whatever else it is.
so one of the things that I learned along the way is that before asking partners to promote your product, program, or service, prove your own product, program, or service on your own so that you have proof of concept. Because then it makes it so much easier for people to say, heck yeah, I'm all in. Big players need to be very selective about where they apply their time and energy and resources. And if you've got a brand new thing that's unproven, my point of view is it's premature to go to a big wig before you've gone to the mat on your own. Do you agree?
Absolutely, and I will make sure to add that as my number 3 biggest mistake of all time. And I get a lot of clients referred to me by some of the bigger partners who are saying, you're not really ready for me to promote you yet. You haven't even tried it out. You probably should talk to Mark and he can help you do a beta test on your own. And yes, absolutely, it's not nice to make your friends and your family guinea pigs.
Well, and I'm kind of reminded, I'm a huge fan of Oprah Winfrey. And when Oprah Winfrey has her O list of the things that she recommends, in order to earn a place on the O list, not only does she have to love it, lock, stock, and barrel, but you as a supplier or a vendor or a retailer need to have the ability to expand to meet the demand that she's going to bring about for you. And I remember her telling this story about some creamery in New Hampshire that had the very best butter pecan ice cream she'd ever tasted. And she knew that if she said, this is the best darn butter pecan ice cream I've ever tasted, and you need to run and not walk to this place in New Hampshire, that she would totally overwhelm him and he wouldn't know what to do or how to deal with it.
Yep.
So it comes back to one of my big ideas is behave and believe as if the most important person is going to come to call, and see if you can expand and develop your systems so that you can rise up to meet that level of demand. And if you haven't yet put that kind of stuff in place, put that stuff in place as if it's going to happen tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. A friend of mine missed an opportunity to be on Oprah because they could not deliver the free gift to everybody in the audience. That would have made them millionaires overnight, but they just couldn't deliver the $10,000 worth of product.
Yep. So being ready for opportunity. So prove your idea first before you go to the big players. Then when you go to the big players, you've got turkey to talk, and then you can get there and you can enlist their support based on making a genuine, authentic approach that feels in alignment, then that resonates. And so just for fun, like if you were to make an approach to someone that felt like a really ambitious ask, like, are there certain words that you use when you make those approaches that might be helpful or inspiring to people who are watching?
Well, much like making an ask for, but
Oh,
look at the camera go. Much like an ask for a client, you want to already know that they're a fit before you make the ask. It would be the same thing for a partner. So I wouldn't reach out to a partner that didn't know who I was and make a big ask. I would usually start off with an offer of saying, what are you doing and how can I help? So by the time I was ready to make an ask, they knew who I was and knew how I showed up and how I played. If I had something that I saw coming up, I would want them to know about it in advance. So if there was somebody that maybe I was putting together a summit or working with another client on a project, that I might say, hey, this is something that's coming up, and if it's something that you're interested in, I'd love for you to watch it. But to instead of making an ask, instead you can just make them perhaps aware and including in, always tying that into how that benefits them, how that supports them, and it often is how that supports their people. Going back to that not wanting to do anything until you've got it proven, that's just a thing of case studies. You really want to know that you've taken people through a process And for me, I want to know that my partners, the people that I'm representing, I can read testimonials from people knowing of who they were before and who they were after, so that I know how they're taken care of, not just that they can do it, but I can read people's stories. And then the same thing with the conversions of knowing that they've been on a webinar and that they've had people that have shown up there, and they've had people that then raise their hand and say, yes, this is a great product for me. That way I know that they know how to deliver all that stuff. They have all of the pieces in place, so that I can feel very confident about promoting them to the people that I love and care about.
Very good. That brings me to two quick little quips I wanted to share that could add to that. Someone that I think the world of, Jennifer Beal, invited me to give a talk to her tribe, and it was a great honor to be invited to do that. And one of her clients elected to do my Broadcast Your Brilliance boot camp, and I was really happy about that. So of course I thanked her in the appropriate manner and sent her a check and was happy to do that. But the client that she referred has been such a rock star and has performed so well and has gotten such great results that one of the things that I did over the weekend is to reach out to her in a direct message on Facebook and say, remember that amazing client you referred to me? Well, look what has happened to her since. She has accomplished 5 podcast guest spots and a summit in a few short weeks, and she's got several more podcasts on the calendar. She's totally on fire. I'm so grateful that you referred her. And she wrote back and said, I'm so happy and I'm so impressed. What a transformation. And then I said, I'll be doing another launch along this type. I'll do a mild launch in June, and I've got a big one coming up in September. And she says, well, I'm all in to support you in September. I'm so impressed. So this was just an example of taking the relationship very specifically, which is go to the person and say, thank you for the referral. Then go back to the person and say, the person you referred is really rocking it out. Have you heard? And she's, yeah, like there's a relationship happening there. So I wasn't counting on her supporting me, but when she just initiated that she was all in to support me in the fall, it was like, awesome. Because
this is another thing though that you do very well that people really want to help make sure they're taking note, is to highlight the successes that you've had and to be able to show people how you've helped people in very specific ways. I think this is something that people are often afraid of. It sounds like they're tooting their own horn, and it's really, really important to toot your own horn, especially with someone else's stories. Instead of just saying how what you do, if you can tell the story about how you've actually worked with someone else and the results that they've had, I think that's just an absolutely fabulous way to promote yourself and getting other people's names out. You put people on the platform, and even when you're doing webinars or trainings, you often bring up the people that are there watching you as these are my clients and these are the successes they've had. And I've gone and looked up some of your clients and reached out to them just because I've heard them, on your webinar. So I think it's a really great thing for people to be in the practice of doing. Show off the good work that you've done by showing off the people you support.
Well, thank you. And there's one other follow-up I wanted to make to something you'd earlier said, is that sometimes movers and shakers and aspiring movers and shakers have their promotional calendars laid out a year in advance. And for those who are newer in their journey, that may seem like a foreign concept because you're just trying to pull it together. And how could you possibly think 5 quarters out that you're going to be doing a launch at that particular window of time? And I'll tell you, this is just a funny little story. I really do like to go all out for my partners, and I really give it everything I've got. And I like to also feel important. So when I hear that big wig person has invited all of these big wig people to participate and gave them a year to plan around it, and then I get the call 1 week before it's going to start, and they're saying, hey, would love to have you on board. Won't you please clear your calendar and give me everything you've got? And I've started to call that the JV booty call. It's like, wow, everybody else got a year to plan, and you're giving me 1 week to clear the decks and give you my full attention? Gosh, I really feel special. And I've actually said that to people. I said, gee, way to give me some lead time. And they'll say, well, come on, won't you please come on board? And I say, I really appreciate the ask, and I'm going to say no this time, but if you gave all those other people a year to plan around it, give me the same consideration. I mean, nobody likes to feel like they're the last one invited to the party. Don't you think?
It's like a JV Tinder. I totally agree. Swipe.
Love that. Okay.
I've never even been on JV Tinder, but I understand.
Is there such a
left or right?
Is there such a thing?
No.
It's like I listen to me. I've
never been on the real Tinder.
Yeah, I guess I've been living under a rock. I mean, the fact that I would even ask you that, I should probably know. So this is a fun question. The largest payoff I ever welcomed from JVs was in the $22,000 or $25,000 mark when I got 5 checks in the month of January at the same time. And when my husband came home from a business trip and saw these 5 checks fanned out on the breakfast bar, well, he's a financial planner. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. And he says to me, I don't know what you've been doing, but can you keep it up? So my question to you, and you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but has there been a situation where you were gobsmacked by the magnitude of money that came your way because of all this great work that you've done with these aligned partners?
Yeah, it's interesting because most of mine, it hasn't been those big, huge checks as much as I had one that was, I think probably around, well, it wasn't a check for 10,000, but we did over 10,000 in commissions for an event. But on top of that, we got a $7,000 speaking spot on their stage that added even more revenue to the bottom line. But most of the payments usually come month on month. If they're paying monthly, if they're paying in full, it comes in one big lump check. The idea, though, is that having that continually coming in and knowing that every month we've got checks coming in is just one of those other revenue streams that we don't really have to think about. It's just always flowing in.
Always flowing in. You know, one of my colleagues is a very successful strategic partner, and one of his biggest occupational hazards is paper cuts from the checks that come in that he needs to open with his, like paper cuts as an occupational hazard because he's done such a great job creating relationships with people that they're easily selling his products, programs, and services. And I think that if we're going to get involved in joint venture partnerships, I'm a big fan of going all in instead of dabbling because there is work involved. There's commitment, there's conviction involved. There's the customization of your swipe copy to make it feel like it really is from you. And there's the promise that there will be a reward that goes beyond the money, but the money is also valuable as well. So what was I going to say about that? I can't remember my train of thought, but you have this wonderful gift and it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen and everybody's wondering, what is that? Why do I need it? And why don't I just run and don't walk to go get it? So why don't you just tell us about the Amplify Your Impact, Income, and Influence Essential Keys for Conscious Collaborations report that people do need to run and not walk to go get. Tell them what's inside.
Sure. So we talked a little bit about it. It's really the 3 most important things that you need to have to create affiliate relationships. So we'll go through that step by step, and you'll actually be able to see where you are at the very end of it. I've got a Soul Affiliate checklist, so you can kind of rate yourself and see what you already have in place, what are the exact next things that you need to do, and then we even give you a call to action that'll help get you into place with reaching out to some of those partners and starting to build some of the relationships.
I want people to run and not walk because I realize that some of the language and some of the concepts we're talking about today may be unfamiliar to you. And the best way to get familiar is to do a deep dive, get a report like this presented by someone who isn't it $1 million business that you've created?
We haven't done $1 million in this business, but we've done over $1 million, but we're not doing $1 million a year yet.
Well, you're doing well, and you're doing it in a soul-aligned way, and I love that. And if people are interested in, you mentioned something earlier about the Soul Affiliate Alliance. Is that something that people can apply to be a member of, or are they hand selected to be chosen to be part of it, or what is that exactly?
Yeah, so the primary opportunity for the Soul Affiliate Alliance is an event that I hold every year, either live in Orlando. The last 2 years have been virtual. Nope, this year was the first virtual one, going back to live next year. And I also have an entryway. I've partnered with one of the clients in the Soul Affiliate Alliance, David Ricklin, to create the JV directory. So the JV directory is a giant tent. We still don't allow icky people, but it fits all. Anybody that's in the personal development space can come to learn about joint ventures. You're going to actually be doing a training for our members next Thursday. We have other experts that come in around helping people to get onto different platforms. And it's a free networking event that we hold next Thursday. So if people want to put their information below, I'll send them an affiliate link so that they can use your affiliate link to sign up for the free networking event.
Oh, very good. Well, I know I'm a member of that alliance, the JV Alliance, and I so appreciate being part of the community. And David Ricklin is a member of the Raise Your Voice, Make Your Impact community, and I've been he's been contributing to my community, and I've been contributing to his community. We're starting to create a relationship, and now he's no doubt going to see this interview and how we were able to showcase you and what you're up to. And I just know that more good things are going to come of it, because the right stones roll together, the right stones roll together. So if you are someone who is going it alone and ready to do something different, consider being part of one of these joint venture communities like the one that Mark is leading. Because if you are especially a soul connector, or someone who cares about creating those deeper relationships that are not transactions, that are not one night stands, I think that that's something that is going to be good fuel for the rocket that you're going to be riding as you grow your business, your impact, your influence, and your income. And, going together, we can get there further and farther than if we ever just went alone. And so that's one of the bigger messages that I wanted people to take away is don't go alone, go together, link arms with like-minded souls and see how far you can fly. And any parting thoughts before we close up this fabulous chat?
Well, just to kind of going with what you're sharing, 2020 was very hard on a lot of people who were used to doing lots of live events. It was hard on people for many, many different reasons. Lots of changes that has come up. And as we've been getting more and more used to not being around people, the need for human connection is even greater. And while you may not be able to fully engage the way that we did a year ago or 2 years ago in person, we can still really build relationships online that have that same deep quality without the in-person part. So while we're still waiting to get things back more normalized, I think it's a great opportunity to realize that, and here's what I'm addressing, is that there's still a lot of people that are afraid of building relationships, that are still doing it alone because of some previous experience that they may have had. So I want to encourage everyone to think about what could be great about building alliances and partnerships and coming out of this seclusion that we've been in for the last year, and really coming out of your hibernation and start building wonderful relationships now.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think by virtue of a couple of the stories that I shared, I revealed that there have been a couple of bumps in the road with the relationships that have not started or gotten off on the wrong foot. And we all have an opportunity to turn the page and take a fresh perspective. What strategies and tactics are going to be the best to amplify what we're here to do and to help our stars on the rise? And so that's a beautiful segue. I want everyone who's listening live or by replay to post a comment in the chat about one big idea that you got from today's conversation that's going to propel you to a new level of relationship or partnership with someone that you want to reach up to create that connection. That's number one. Number two, I want you to run and not walk to getknowngetpaid.com/3 keys. So this report will wing its way to your inbox. Be sure to check junk, promo, or spam folders just in case it arrives there by mistake. It's on its way to you. You just have to make sure that it's whitelisted. And the third thing I wanted to say is that Many of you know that I lead the Broadcast Your Brilliance Bootcamp, and it's a way for you to learn how to book yourself on 4 to 12 podcasts on a do-it-yourself basis without hiring an expensive booking agency. And during the month of May 2021, I'm having VIP chats with serious candidates who want to know what it is and why it matters and how they can play. And if it's something that you would like to be a part of, reach out to me at nancy@getknowngetpaid.com and ask for a VIP chat, and I'll happily tell you more about it. But I'm curating 5 to 12 people who want to be part of this for the next 12 weeks to become big, huge stars on the rise. And if that is exciting to you, I can't wait to talk to you, because we're going downtown. And in terms of making connections with people without leaving the house, podcast guesting can be your new best friend and incredible rocket fuel for your star on the rise. And I want to empower you so you know how to do it, and that you get to show up and have conversations like this with amazing people like Mark Porteous, who I've been such a delight to have you with me today. So thank you so much, Mark, for being here. Thank you, Rita, for being here. I think that must be Tara Paley who's making these cute comments, but I'm so glad. If you've loved it, go ahead and give us some love on Facebook. If you've loved it to the point that you want to share it, please do. And then remember, I come on live just about every Monday at 1 o'clock with an amazing expert or a solo show. And my whole objective is to guide you to learn more and earn more and to start right now. So thank you so much for being here. Rita says, I love this. Great interview. It cheered me up. I've been feeling overwhelmed lately with all I need to do. What if you just make friends with the cool people, Rita, and your job it is to share your message will be so much easier. Wouldn't that be a brilliant, brilliant outcome? So Mark, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us live or by replay. And I look forward to seeing what brilliant outcomes unfold as you create these soul partnerships that will allow your star to rise and for it to start as soon as possible. With that, I say bye-bye for now.